Giants fans, it's week 8. We have the bye week. Somebody tell the offense because they were off last week too. And you're watching True Blue Review. Rich, this is really getting more difficult to do.
Actually, I thought it was getting easier because it's always the same story.
Really?
We only had 1 week that it was a little bit different.
That's right. That's true.
But,
We did.
It's almost like the Giants this week against the Seahawks. They almost look like they were like week 2 or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, round week 1, where the defense played good, but the offense just couldn't really get going.
Yeah, actually, there's definitely a lot of validity to what you're saying. Earlier in the season, we saw the defense getting wore out, much like they were this game, just on the field too long.
Yeah.
The offense not producing enough offense to stay on the field long enough. And there was a little bit more than a 10-minute difference overall in time of possession to show that. I don't know, unless you have a couple talking points specifically, I wasn't really going to get into a whole lot of stats on this because they're irrelevant. Yeah. It was an offense that was piss poor, that was missing obviously a lot of really good players, and a quarterback with no confidence in his offensive line or his receivers. That would be my overall.
Definitely not in the receivers. I thought that they were going to play more like they did against Denver and run the ball, but they only attempted 17 rushes.
Yeah,
and they just never got the rushing game going. They just never got it going, and you know, they threw the ball 39 times. That's twice as many times. Mm-hmm. So I think the ratio should be more of the same. Like you're passing half the time, you're throwing, because they weren't behind for most of the game. They were right there, so you can still run the ball, but they never got the rushing game going, and they didn't even have the attempts. You know, from what I could see, maybe they went away from it because it seemed like that they were trying to get the receivers involved. Mm-hmm. You know, the young guys, the guys that are replacing the injured players, but they just never got those guys in the game. Yeah. You know, Tavares King, he had a reception, but besides him, I don't remember. Lewis is, man, he hasn't, and he was playing with the Giants as a backup when the guys got tired or something, and he's had some good receptions.
Well, it says a lot about Seattle's secondary. They are a top secondary too.
That's true.
They covered them tight.
That is true. We have to definitely give that to Seattle.
Yeah, I saw. It's interesting. You can tell when Eli is really nervous because he's got more dance steps than Michael Flatley does. I mean, he was back there just dancing like crazy. It seemed like out of nervousness and just waiting for something to happen, and nothing was happening, and then the walls cave in.
I have to say this, that his attempts were 39, his completions were 19. For as long as I've been watching Eli Manning, that's maybe his worst completion percentage. Mm-hmm. If it's not his worst, then it's close to his worst. That's under 50%. Yeah. That's close to his worst game, especially with throwing the ball that much.
Yeah.
You know, he did not have a good game, and I don't put it on him.
Right.
You know, I mean, he's trying to get the ball out there.
Yeah.
And they were very opportunistic, the offense, in the first half. You know, because they did take the lead in the halftime.
Yeah.
But they have to count on the defense to give them that short field.
Turnovers, there was no difference, 1-1. Or 2-2, actually.
Was it 2-2?
Or no, 1-1. I'm sorry. I thought there was 2. We've got 1 fumble loss, and then probably and
Eli Manning didn't throw. I guess it was just 1 fumble each. Because Wilson didn't throw any picks.
We should have had that interception in the end zone, which was a killer. The one where where Landon Collins was fighting with that, fighting for the ball with the
That
receiver.
was a really strange play.
Yeah.
And of course, I look at it and I never saw. I thought if it should have been anything, it should have been an incomplete pass.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, the ball never hit the ground. The only reason I would say it would be an incomplete pass is because the receiver's feet went out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them. Both the guys' feet went out of bounds before there was any control of the ball from what I could tell.
Okay.
But I never saw that the Seattle guy had control of the ball. I never saw that.
I didn't either. I thought Landon Collins had control of that ball.
I mean, they were fighting for it, but while they were fighting, they go out of bounds, and basically what they said is that it was a tie, quote, it was a tie,
Yeah.
and the tie goes to the offense. That was basically their reasoning for it.
Yeah.
But that was 2 plays after the Manning fumble.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if there's one thing that we've always wished as fans, is for that to get under control with Eli.
Yeah.
He's had some years where he's had a lot of interceptions, but those fumbles are costly.
Yeah.
The same thing happened because if they're close to
The line of
the
scrimmage.
end zone.
Yeah.
He turns the ball over, and then boom, the next play they're able to throw a touchdown. The same thing happened in that San Diego game. Mm-hmm. And both of them towards the end of the game.
Yeah.
So that was, I think that was in the 4th quarter where that happened.
Yeah, in the Chargers game?
Then the Chargers game was definitely the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
This might have been the end of the 3rd quarter. I
Yeah.
can't really remember the timeline exactly.
Yeah.
But that was not great. I will also mention that Rosas missed that field goal.
I think that was a killer right there.
I really do. Hey, you kind of felt it, didn't you?
Yeah, I really did.
I felt it almost like watching, like it just felt like the team really was down. It was really a letdown.
Yeah, and so
Like, man.
So at that point it was 10-7. Seattle was up 10-7. We needed that to tie the game. He missed it. Seattle went in for the touchdown. I mean, it wasn't the next play. But
What happened? He misses the field goal,
mm-hmm.
and then they got the ball. But then there was a defensive stop. But then the next series, when the Giants get it, that's when Eli Manning fumbled the ball.
Oh, okay, all right.
And then boom.
Was that where they stopped him on the 4th and goal after the Rosas?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I really wish I could go back and see that right now, because if that's the case, they played fantastically. You know, maybe that is what happened. I think.
Yeah, I can't.
Did they have a 4-down stop?
Well, they did. In fact, I believe
that must have been right where it was. So that was a real critical part of the game right there. I mean, they were fighting with each other. They were going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
That fumble was.
I think the defense gave them every reason to stay in it. Yeah. I really do. And
they played good.
But you're right. That Rosas missed field goal, 48-yard field goal. That was a killer.
I think it was a letdown for the offense in particular. I just think that I think that at that point I really felt like Eli was like, man, we just can't do anything.
Yeah.
He doesn't show much emotion. It's hard to say. I'm not trying to put words in his head. I don't know if he felt like that, but it just, you just get a feeling after watching a team play for a while. And, basically the identity of the Giants is Eli Manning is on the offensive side of the ball. So he's been the quarterback for a long time. So you kind of get a feel for things that happen in the game that kind of turn the game a little bit.
Yeah.
Well,
moving on from the Seahawks game, let's just do a quick review of the NFC East, where the standings are going after Week 7 going into Week 8. We do have a bye coming up, so we figure this is a good time to hit it. What do you have as far as Eagles, Cowboys, and so on?
Well, Eagles are top of the division, which is kind of a surprise.
Yeah, it was
going into the
unexpected.
season, the way that the Eagles look versus the Giants. I didn't think the Eagles were a terrible team, and they were going to be 1-6 like the Giants were. I just thought that the Giants would be leading the division at this point.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to probably lead throughout the season, and I thought the team that they would battle against was Dallas. But Dallas doesn't look bad. They look good when they play. And the Redskins, I think, look good too. I mean, I know Philly beat them, but I still watch the Redskins and still think that they're a team that can play. They can put up points. Cowboys can certainly put up points.
Certainly.
So offensively, all these teams have got it going on. Where the Giants, that's where we struggle. Defensively, Eagles' defense looks pretty good. I think the Cowboys and Redskins struggle in defense, but their defenses aren't terrible, like bottom of the basement, you know. But it's played out. If the Eagles stay healthy, I mean, it looks like they're going to win the division, unless the Cowboys come roaring back. I mean, there's a lot of NFC East games to be played, teams against teams. This week, the Cowboys have to play the Redskins, so that'll tell a story. The Giants obviously have to play the Eagles again. They got to play the Cowboys again. They got to play the Redskins twice. Yeah. You know, so there's a lot more football to be played. I'm terrible at predicting. I think that most of the planet is. Yeah. You know, I wish I was better. My fantasy team would be doing a lot better.
Yeah, really.
And my pocketbook, I'd have to say. But the bottom line is that the Eagles, watching the Eagles, they look like a good team. Mm-hmm. You know,
they do. They've been impressive. Carson Wentz was just named the offensive player of the week for the NFC, at least. So they look really good. They looked really good against the Skins, and I think it's going to continue that way unless they have another major injury. They did have an injury to our offensive lineman. I can't remember which one it was.
I'll say the only other thing is that the Cowboys have that controversy kind of hanging over their head.
That's true, the Ezekiel Elliott thing. And if he's out 6 games, what 6 is it going to be?
That'll have an effect.
Yeah,
he is an amazing player.
I mean, to be quite honest, if they're going to do 6 games, they better get it going because there's only so many left.
Yeah.
You know, 9 games, I guess.
And it's not good to have that hanging over your team. It's just like
let's get this done.
Yeah.
All right, so I did want to talk a little bit about Jerry Reese's press conference.
Which I didn't see.
His mid-season press conference.
I didn't see it.
Right, and boy, there's been a lot said about this on social media and stuff. And so when I watched the press conference, I took down just some quick notes. So it is what it is. But when he first came out at the press conference, one of the first things he said is that he accepts responsibility for being 1-6. Okay. All right. Because that's what you do, right?
Sure.
Well, that was the last time. Cool. That was the last time he accepted responsibility for being 1-6. After that, the next thing he said was the players needed to play better. Then he did mention that he believes the players were believing the hype. That was another reason why they were 1-6. Then he also said the players are not hungry enough.
Wow. He's throwing the players under the bus big time.
He was asked during the press conference about how he felt about Coach McAdoo, and he felt Coach McAdoo had no responsibility for them being 1-6.
None?
That's what I got out of it.
I mean, he's just not.
That's what I got out of it.
He's not airing dirty laundry.
Okay. And the only other thing I really noted in it was his statement of, there's no crying in football. So,
obviously, he didn't
ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Reese.
He didn't see Beckham twist his ankle really bad.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't hungry enough. He should have twisted both at the same time. Very interesting press conference. He seemed to jog around a lot of there was another question brought up in reference to offensive line, and why didn't he bring in more in the offseason?
If you're going to make him responsible for anything, that's what it is.
So this was his answer to it, and I really didn't. What I should have done was listen to it a second time over to really kind of gather what he was getting at. But basically, he felt that what was out there did not move them. Apparently, he wants to move in the direction of a more youthful team.
Okay.
So
he wants to draft, not bring in free agents.
Yeah, but he didn't say draft. He just said he didn't feel like the choices that were out there moved them in a direction of a youthful team.
Okay.
It was somewhere along those lines.
So meaning that there wasn't anything youthful in the draft that he thought was an asset to the team that was
talking about free agency.
That was on the board, but within the free agent market, he didn't think there was anything there.
Correct.
Okay.
And there are a lot of rebuttals to that. I mean, he brought in Brandon Marshall.
True.
When there were probably a lot of other younger receivers.
Agreed. And you could definitely pick up a receiver in the draft.
Yeah. So there are some rebuttals out there to that, but nevertheless, he did answer that question. It's obvious that he's towing the management line,
the company line.
And he's not going to throw Mac under the bus, but it's okay to throw.
Well, he shouldn't throw Mac under the bus.
It's okay. Well,
he shouldn't throw anybody under the bus.
At the same time, I think that he should. Well, he did say. Let me take that back. He did say that this is a team. This has been a team effort or lack thereof. That type of thing.
Well, I agree with that. I think that there's definitely some. I think they could have done better in the off season for the offensive line. That across the board. That's agreed upon by everyone.
Right.
You know, if somebody says no, then they're just in denial or they're just a homer, Giant fan or something. We could have improved this line in the off season, and they didn't. It's basically the same. They did bring in Fluker.
They brought in Fluker, and they drafted Wheeler, and that was it.
Okay.
You know, and you could say Rhett Ellison in a sense because he is a blocking tight end.
That's true. And they did get that guy in the 7th round, was Bisnawadi or whatever, but he didn't make the team.
Yeah.
You know, so
I forgot about Bisnawadi.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there are some out there. You know, it's kind of like I think that everybody, specifically in New York, are just really, really bitter right now. I mean, certainly I'm upset. You're upset. Nobody wants to be 1-6.
Well, the proof is in the rushing game.
Yeah.
They cannot rush the ball. I know they had the one good week.
Yeah, but also another thing.
And I don't even know if it's in the. It might be in the scheme of the game because it seemed like when they focused on the rush last week, they were able to rush the ball.
Right.
But it didn't even seem like they did it against the Seahawks, though.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the Denver game.
I know.
It didn't seem like they did it against the Seahawks.
Yeah, and going back to that,
17 attempts.
Even during the game, I think I texted you over and said something along the lines of, they're not using the same game plan that they did against Denver. Why'd they change this offense all of a sudden? It worked against Denver, but they're not even giving it a chance to work. So anyway, but there was really even nothing in his press conference about play calling or anything like that. But again, he was answering questions from the reporters that were there.
Well, I think that management takes a piece of the blame.
Mm-hmm. They have to.
I think that there's no question that coaching has got to take a piece of the blame. Mac, dude, come on. I mean, come on. You got to give the guy's got to take something on his shoulders.
Yeah.
And then if we get into the players, agreed. Mm-hmm. I think that Brandon Marshall is a big time disappointment.
Yeah.
You know,
he was starting to come around a little bit, but
he was a big time disappointment, though. You know, with what happened. Mm-hmm. Once in a while, you get these foolish penalties that you're just like, I mean, that's penalties. Sometimes people say that the penalties are on the coach.
Yeah.
But you know, I a lot of times I put penalties on the player.
I have to agree. I mean, they should be. Everybody says, "Well, it's preparation. It's preparation." Well, hold on. They should be at a point right now where they know that you're not supposed to tackle, you know, a defensive end. Now, obviously, there are good penalties and bad penalties.
Yeah, and you're going to get some penalties.
Yeah.
But things like false start, you know, that's preparation.
But
unsportsmanlike conduct, that is completely on the player.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, so Odell Beckham with some of his antics, as an example.
Right. Well, let's talk about false starts because that brings up the name Eric Flowers, who was also brought up a number of times in the press conference. And Jerry Reese was very adamant about his support.
I thought he's been playing good for Eric Flowers.
Yeah, well, and that was brought. He said, I think he's been playing good, and I believe I could be confusing this with what I was watching afterward. But there was also this idea that they weren't running up his side anymore. So because they moved him around to the left, or no.
No, he's on.
They started running more over behind Fluker.
Yeah, well,
rather
Fluker's
than on his side.
A huge guy.
So consequently, it makes Flowers and the other thing too is the fact that against the Broncos they ran so much, Flowers didn't really have a chance to at least open the door wide open and let someone.
I think that Flowers is playing after that second game where he got owned.
Yeah,
I thought he's been playing better. He hasn't gotten as many penalties. The costly one this week that was a false start was Bobby Hart because that happened right before the field goal.
right.
Well, it was they got the 5 yards and they didn't get the third down conversion. They got 1 yard, and it's a little bit, but it's a difference.
Yeah, it is. Every one of those matter. And then moving on, I guess, what are your expectations for this team in the next 9 weeks?
That is a really good question.
I mean, we should all ask ourselves that.
Winning or
yeah. I mean, I know I'm not even looking for a win. I'm not even looking for a win. What I'm thinking of in my mind. So I thought I put in our notes team direction, but really the question is, what are our expectations for this team?
Well, I think that having a bye week is great.
Yeah.
It would have been really great if it was last week.
Yeah.
Instead of them playing the Seahawks, they could have come out of the bye week and played the Seahawks. To have that extra week of practice with the receivers plus another week for Shepard to get healthy. Because their receiving core is just,
Let me step back a sec. That was one more thing Reese said, which NJ.com said he's delusional. He said, everybody's counting us out on this season. We've still got 9 games left. I'm thinking to myself, mathematically, yeah, okay. So you're going to beat Kansas City, you're going to beat the Rams, you're going to beat the Philadelphia.
Yeah. Well, what you really look at is you look at the NFL historically. And you make assumptions based upon what's happened historically. Historically, no team that's gone 0-5 has ever made the playoffs. No team that's 1-6 has ever made the playoffs.
Right.
So that's how you kind of see it. That's how I see it.
I'm in agreement.
Now, is it impossible that they're going to run off,
be 10-6,
9 straight games?
Yeah.
It's not impossible.
No.
I mean, if everybody just throws in the towel or something halfway through, or I don't know, everybody just gets a crazy disease or something halfway through the game. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe somebody's going to put the spell on these people. I don't know. But the way it's looking, they're not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. So what does this team focus on? Does it focus on playing rookies and seeing? I mean, now we have to start looking at. We have to say the season's over. Okay, right now we're just playing to play. And we're playing to see who wants to be on this team next year. And guys are playing for contracts. They're playing for stats, contract-related stats. Pride, obviously. So I guess as a fan, what are our expectations for the team to obviously go out there and play well?
I think no matter what you do, you play to win.
Yeah.
You play to win. You don't lay down, because
you're not an advocate of playing for the draft.
No,
okay.
No.
Neither am I.
That's terrible. Because then you pick somebody and the guy doesn't work out. Yeah. That's dumb.
I agree with you.
I don't believe in that whatsoever.
I agree.
And I don't think any fans do. I want them to play hard. I don't want to see Eli get hurt. They're talking about. There's been discussion about people have been saying maybe they should start Davis Webb. maybe they can get Davis Webb into a game a
Like
couple
some
times.
fourth quarters and stuff like
But
that.
to start, I mean, what are you going to break Eli Manning's Iron Man streak, man? To test out a rookie is not going to happen.
Well, we expect Eli to be back next year. There's no reason for him not to be. He has never had a major injury.
it seems
he's in
like
good
he's fine to me. I'm not down on Manning this year. I don't think he's having a great year.
Yeah.
But he's had some good games.
He's not the reason behind all this either.
I don't think so.
No.
You know, everybody can always play better. I mean, we can
Eli's the first to say that about himself.
We can take any player, any quarterback on any team, and they can play better.
Right.
Periodically, quarterbacks throw picks. They get sacked. They fumble the ball. Some more than others. I think that Manning, if he gets spun around, or if he's in motion when he gets hit, he typically fumbles the ball.
Right.
So that's not good for every game, but maybe every other game, maybe once every 3 games.
Yeah.
And where the Giants are on the field at the time,
Yeah.
No,
I know. It seems like the most inopportunistic moment.
Yeah.
When that happens.
It is.
So I guess one more thing that we really need to bring up is Reese and McAdoo. How are they being evaluated by upper management these last 9 games? If this team continues to lose, obviously the fire gets hotter. What's the breaking point?
I think Reese is fine.
Reese has been there 10 years?
I don't know if it's been 10. It's been close to 10. Though.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I don't really keep
Yeah.
too much on the management. I don't think about that too much. Coaching, I do. Reese has been there a while though.
It'd take a lot for Reese to pull
So
McAdoo.
it's 2017. I think he was there for both Super Bowls. I think he was. I can't really remember.
2008. Okay. So are you of the belief that McAdoo's going to finish out this season with this team?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll finish the season. I don't think that the ownership are the type of, I don't think they're the type of ownership to fire people halfway through this season. It's just not it's not the way they are.
Right.
So if they feel like they need to change, they'll make the change, in the off season.
Right. Well, so let's say that this team maybe only wins 2 more games. So let's say hypothetically you're 3-13. Do you think McAdoo should change his hairstyle? Maybe he should part to the side and just put it over. What do you think?
Wear a freaking hat. Just win,
I think the hairstyle has something to do with it, man. I think there's a lot of grease in there, so I don't know. So now we move into the bye week, and I think we really need it right now.
Yeah, especially for the receiving corps. So those guys can practice and get it going. Shepard can get, healthier. So
Good point.
They totally need that. And they need to learn how to run their routes and find the soft spots in the zone, and they need to learn how to get open.
Yeah.
Bottom line is they weren't getting open.
Yeah.
If you get open, man, he's going to throw you the ball,
Yeah.
I mean, every quarterback misses open receivers, but if you get open, Manning's going to get you the ball if he has his protection. Yeah.
Well, I feel like even as a fan, I need to recharge my batteries a little bit. I want to feel enthusiastic about a game coming up, but right now that enthusiasm is obviously starting to wane a little bit because of the record. I'm not going to miss any Giants games, but at the same time, I really want to look forward to seeing a game again.
I'm going to watch every game.
Yeah.
Every minute of every game.
Yep.
No doubt.
Well, with that in mind, that ends our Week 7 going into Week 8 video. We want to thank everybody very much for sticking with us through the first 7 weeks of the season. We're looking forward to bringing you the best we can of what we know about the Giants. And I want to thank Tin Cannon and thank Big Blue Nova I also want to send a special thanks out to Sabrina Barnhart and also Julie Fanning for their unending support of what we do. It certainly helps to have them on our side. No, they're not quite Giants fans, but that's all right. Anything?
Well, I'll just say that even though the Giants don't have a winning record and they're not having a great season, it's still fun to talk about football.
Certainly is.
And it's still fun to watch football. It's discouraging, obviously, when your team doesn't win. You always want your team to win, but regardless, it's funny how much we find to talk about.
Yeah.
Because now that they're in this situation, it's a different conversation, but there's still a lot to talk about as far as the team is concerned. So,
great. Well, please send your comments below on our YouTube page and like our Facebook page and send some comments there as well. Thank you.
Thanks, fans.
We're out.